What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'm doing another official NASCAR silly season update where we'll go through everything that's happened so far in the 2023 to 2024 NASCAR silly season. Anyways, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. Silly season would kick off in the early portions of January, where Kevin Hart would officially announce he retired from the NASCAR Cup Series at the end of the 2023 season. Then about a month later, it would be announced that Kevin Hart will be joining the Fox booth starting in 2024. After a great and illustrious career in the NASCAR Cup Series, winning 60 races, he will hang up the helmet and will, of course, be a first ballot Hall of Famer. They'll hang up the helmet at the end of the season. A few days later, in the middle portion of January, it would be announced that Kyle Larson would officially announce he'd run the 2024 Indianapolis 500 with Aaron McLaren with Hendrick Motorsports backing. It's also been announced that his number will be the number 17. Initially, we all thought it was going to be number 5, but it's been announced over the last couple of days that Kyle Larson's number will be 17 in respect to Ricky Hendrick. Kyle Larson will have a great chance and opportunity to win the 2024 Indy 500. Then a few weeks would pass, and in case Mears at the next-gen test for the short track package in late January, he would basically announce and basically talk and say that he wants to return to NASCAR and would like to get the 500 Cup starts before the end of his time. Casey Mears has not been in NASCAR Cup Series since 2019 when he last competed in the Daytona 500. He's hoping to in the future get an opportunity and a chance to return to the Cup Series. Silly season would be quiet for a few more weeks, and in the first week of February, it would be announced that Chase Briscoe had signed a multi-year contract extension with Schinas Racing. While the full details of the contract had not been announced, it's expected he'll be there for pretty much the rest of his career and be there for many more seasons. He's been with Schinas Racing since 2018. He'll continue to be with SHR for many, many years to come. Then, during the Royal 24 at Daytona in late January, Ramon Grosjean spoke and brought some interest in about potentially wanting to race in NASCAR in the foreseeable future and wants to race in the Daytona 500 one day. The IndyCar driver still has not signed a contract for 2024 for IndyCar currently at the moment, but it would be really cool, and it's not the first time he's spoken about wanting to race in NASCAR. Sounds like he's interested in potentially racing in NASCAR. Silly season will be quiet for a few more weeks, and then during Daytona 500 media days, a couple drivers would begin to announce contract extensions. First, Daniel Suarez would officially announce that he had signed a multi-year contract extension with Trackhouse Racing. While official details were not revealed, expected that Daniel Suarez at least will be with Trackhouse Racing through 2025, but I imagine Daniel Suarez will get a longer contract extension with Trackhouse Racing and will continue driving the team for many years to come. On that same day, it would be announced that Alex Bowman had also signed a contract extension with Hendrick Motorsports through the 2026 season. In addition to that, it was announced that Ali has signed an extension through 2028 as well. So it's expected that Alex Bowman likely, while he only has a contract right now through 2026, he will likely continue driving Hendrick Motorsports through at least 2028 as Ali has committed through 2028. Then on the next day, it was announced that Raj Kerr had signed a long-term contract extension with Trackhouse Racing. Now, the details for his contract had not been officially announced, but Ty Norris joked in the media during the contract extension, and he said that he will be there until his beard is gray. It was also announced very recently in the last couple of weeks that Busch Beer will sponsor Raj Kerr at Trackhouse Racing for multiple years, starting in 2024, 18 races in 2024, meaning a big company will partner with Raj Kerr, which is a massive pickup for him. Then after the Daytona 500, 2311 Racing actually spoke out as Steve Lalletta was on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, and he revealed that 2311 Racing is planning for long-term expansion. While the official details have not been enclosed, it sounds like 2311 Racing long-term will expand to 3 or 4 full-time entries. They talk about wanting to get more charters. Obviously, charters are really, really expensive, but 2311 wants to become a team that expands to 3 or 4 cars. Then I believe it was during Atlanta week a few months later that Hailie Deegan, and Ford is currently committed to Hailie Deegan long term, but they could elevate her to the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2024. While she has struggled in the Truck Series here, it sounds like Hailie Deegan does have a chance and a potential possibility to make the jump up to Xfinity with a pretty solid Ford team. Though I want to see her performance improve, I think she deserves, at least maybe deserves an opportunity to make some Xfinity Series starts, if not full time, but she could go to Xfinity in 2024. Then a few weeks later, Dale Jr. spoke on the Dale Jr. Down, and he says that Junior Motorsports is still trying to go cup racing. However, very, very recently, it was reported that Dale Jr. said on Sirius and NASCAR Radio they are not likely to be moving up to the Cup Series in 2024, as there's been zero movement in the charter move. Now, I think Junior Motorsports could still have a chance, possibly, if they partner up with the team, but it sounds like right now the Junior Motorsports is out of the possibility and out of the running of jumping up the Cup Series heading into 2024. On that same Dale Jr. download episode, it was revealed from Chip Ganassi was on that episode that Chip Ganassi Racing is not ruling out a return to NASCAR. Chip Ganassi Racing has not been in NASCAR since 2021 when they sold their operations for the Cup program to Trackhouse Racing, but I think Chip Ganassi could return for a new manufacturer maybe in the next few years. But it sounds like there's some interest that Chip Ganassi Racing could in the future come back to NASCAR. Over throughout the season, there's been a lot of talk about Kurt Busch. And Kurt Busch has revealed many, many times throughout the year that he's becoming closer and closer to potentially returning to NASCAR. He revealed on Sirius 7 NASCAR Radio that there is a third car at 2311 Racing. He has still not been medically cleared currently at the moment to return to the NASCAR Cup Series. But I think there's a really good chance of possibly by maybe the end of this year in 2023, maybe the early portion of 2024, Kurt Busch could return. He has said he maybe wants to go back and race full time, but it sounds like right now he's not coming back yet, but there's a good chance and possibly that Kurt Busch could return in the future, and he's getting close to returning to the NASCAR Cup Series. Then after it was announced that Jensen Button will be making some starts with Rick or Racing, he actually is interested in running in NASCAR full-time. Jensen Button, of course, 2009 F1 champion, is interested. He's made some starts now in the Cup Series, and I think it'd be a really cool addition to maybe running in the Cup Series once again in the future. Sounds like he's interested and maybe wanted to run NASCAR full-time. Then, in early May, it was officially announced in a shocking move that Legacy Motor Club is going to switch to Toyota starting in 2024. Erik Jones and Noah Gragson are going to continue driving those respective rides in 2024. And Dave Wilson basically revealed about a month ago that Jimmy Johnson will make some starts with Toyota as well in 2024. In addition to that, it was announced about a week ago that Cal Lawls is now the official CEO of Legacy Motor Club. As the team has struggled with Chevy this year, they look to become a better organization in 2024. Legacy Motor Club looks to improve. Then during the Miami Grand Prix weekend, it was revealed that Lewis Hamilton has some interest in maybe wanting to race in NASCAR and says he would like to try it. Now, of course, Lewis Hamilton has done some NASCAR before, at least basically during a driver swap with Tony Stewart, but I think it'd be really cool and awesome to see him eventually come to NASCAR. Then after winning the Dover Xfinity Series race, Ryan Truex says that he is working on a full-time ride with Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series for 2024. Ryan Truex, I think, a very underrated driver, has had a really good year with Joe Gibbs in Xfinity, but a contender in all the races that he's ran. I think Ryan Truex does deserve a chance and an opportunity. Then throughout the season, really starting back in late April and early May, Carl Lewis has been speaking to the media. And Carl Lewis is not ruling out a potential return to NASCAR in the future. Now, he says publicly that he's definitely interested in maybe doing a one-off. But very recently at the July weekend, or basically the national weekend, basically Carl Lewis revealed that he's been interested and has been a little more around the sport recently. Denny Hamlin revealed on his Actions Detrimental podcast that Carl Lewis has been helping 2311 Racing out with the simulator work and has been in the Joe Gibbs Racing Simulator helping out with the Chicago Street Course. I think there's a really good chance. Denny Hamlin says he'd like to see Carl Lewis get a chance and opportunity to drive for 2311 Racing, maybe one of their cars. Maybe we see Carl Lewis come back in 2023 or 2024 with 2311 Racing. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Then during the Darlington Throwback Weekend, Kasey Kahne revealed to the media that he has considered a potential return to NASCAR. Now, Kasey Kahne has not raced since 2018, but Kasey Kahne left the sport because of health issues, but it sounds like his health has definitely been improving, and I think there's a good chance and possibly maybe in the next couple of years that we could see Kasey Kahne have a chance and opportunity to return to NASCAR in the future. I think it'd be a really good pickup, and maybe Kasey Kahne comes back and makes some starts. Then during the Charlotte weekend for the Memorial Day weekend, Raj Kerr Fields to media during the rain delay for the Xfinity Series, he says he is a free agent right now for 2024 and doesn't have a ride. Raja does have a lot of talent. I think he deserves a shot and opportunity in a full-time ride, maybe in the Xfinity Series next, or maybe back in the Truck Series at KBM, or maybe Rev Racing, because they've had a good team this year. But Raja right now is a free agent for 2024. Then very recently, back in late May, Trevor Bayne basically revealed that he will at some point race with Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series in 2023, but he almost had a full-time ride in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Some are guessing maybe with Tricon Garage, maybe another team in the Toyota camp, but he lost that because of sponsorship issues. But it sounds like Trevor Bayne may have a new sponsor with Southeastern Banking. It's not been officially announced. A lot of people think it could be Bristol later this year, but Trevor Bayne may be making more starts in NASCAR in the foreseeable future. Then, one of the biggest talking points with silly season recently has been Erik Almirola, as Erik Almirola could retire at the end of 2023. Now, Erik Almirola very recently, as early as most recent as this past week, I think on Friday, a series of NASCAR Radio, that he needs to make a decision in the next 2 months. At this point, Erik Almirola had been considering that he was going to come back for 2023. He was initially supposed to retire at the end of 2022, but there's a good chance of possibly that Erik Almirola could retire at the end of 2023. Now, the driver who could end up taking over that car in 2024 is Michael McDowell, as Michael McDowell right now is the fleet candidate to replace Erik Almirola for the 10 car for 2024. Zayn Smith's also been mentioned quite a bit as well, but Michael McDowell, I think, is a very underrated driver, and many people in the industry believe that if they give Michael McDowell a top-tier ride and top opportunity, I think he would excel very, very well. So Michael McDowell is a current favorite to potentially take over the 10 car in 2024. Some believe he's just saved front row. He could stay there, but Michael McDowell says he does not have a decision on his future yet. In that same vein, when it comes to front row motorsports, Todd Gillen has revealed to Jordan Bianchi that he has not worked on a contract yet for 2024. Todd Gillen's been pretty impressive in the NASCAR Cup Series here, so I think if you're front row, you need to re-sign Todd Gillen. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a great future, I think, ahead of him. He's had a great year this year. He's 24th or 25th in points despite driving 4 or 5 rides. He deserves a chance to run full-time once again with front row. In that same article that Jordan Bianchi reported, basically talks about Harrison Burton, that he's likely going to return to the Wood Brothers in 2024. Initially, it had been 50-50, but it sounds more than likely than not that Harrison Burton is going to be back at the Wood Brothers in 2024. Despite the struggles with the team, a lot of people do believe that he deserves a chance and an opportunity to stay with the team in 2024. He will likely be back with that team headed into the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. Then about the late portions and early portions of June, it was revealed that Denny Hamlin is close to signing an extension with Joe Gibbs Racing for 2024. As reported that FedEx will likely be staying with Joe Gibbs Racing and signing a multi-year contract extension as a sponsor as well. FedEx has been with Joe Gibbs Racing for many, many years, all the way back, I think, in 2005. They've been committed long-term. Sounds like Denny Hamlin will not be going anywhere anytime soon, and FedEx will still be committed with him. Then at the Sonoma weekend, Greg Biffle was speaking to the media, and he says he's interested in maybe returning to NASCAR if Portland comes onto the NASCAR Cup schedule or the Xfinity Series schedule. Obviously, Greg Biffle is a champion of the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Truck Series. He has raced in NASCAR not so long ago, back in 2022, drove for NY Racing, but I think he is considering a potential run at NASCAR once again. Then about a month ago, it was announced that Joe Gibbs Racing has sold a minority stake to HBSC, the Harris B Group. Now, the team name will not be changing for Joe Gibbs Racing, but Joe Gibbs will actually be a part owner of the New Jersey Devils and will also be a partner of the Philadelphia 76ers as well. More money, more cash flow. Heather Gibbs has been working as a higher up at the team more than recently, but Joe Gibbs Racing will have some pretty big changes coming to that team in 2024. Then, one of the biggest silly season bombshells dropped in late portions of June and early portions of July. Josh Berry will be driving for Stewart-Haas Racing in 2024, driving the number 4 car with Ronnie Childers as the crew chief. A lot of people think Josh Berry is a really, really underrated and a really talented driver. I know he's had some struggles in Xfinity Series this year, but he had some really good cup runs in 2023 as well, which is one of the big reasons why he's getting this opportunity shot. And Ronnie Childers wanted to work with a Cars Late model driver, and he was going to retire if Josh Berry wasn't a driver they had made a decision a few weeks ago, and that's why they made the call. Actually, they made a decision back early in the year that Josh Berry was going to be the replacement for the 4 car, and Josh Berry is also a KHI management driver now. In the same press conference and after it, Tony Stewart basically reveals that Schinas Racing is likely staying with Ford in 2024. Now, Ford is under contract through 2024 with Schinas Racing, but some have believed that Junior Motorsports could find a way in, and maybe some other brands could come into play, especially with Gene Haas not being at that press conference. It does sound like that they could get out of Ford in 2000 after 2024, and maybe go back to team like a brand like Chevy, or maybe even join Toyota in 2025. But SHR is likely going to stay with Ford in 2024. Then Quinn Off was interviewed by multiple people from Front Stretch, and he reveals he's not interested in returning to NASCAR. Quinn Off has not raced in NASCAR since 2021. He was hoping to run in 2022, but he didn't have any deals and any plans set. So Quinn Off, he says he's satisfied with everything. He's got a business he's currently running at the moment, and he won't be returning to NASCAR anytime soon. Then over the last few weeks and months, it's been rumblings and rumors about Andretti Autosport. And it sounds like Andretti Autosport is interested in joining NASCAR. And a lot of people believe that their way of potentially getting in is going with Spire Motorsports. One of the big reasons is it was announced about 2 or 3 weeks ago that Gamebridge will be partnering with Spire Motorsports for multiple years. Gamebridge has been a big partner with the Andretti Autosport group for about 10 years now, thanks to Zach Veach bringing in a lot of funding from the Group 1001. And also Mark Andretti did make his debut in the Truck Series for the team. So it sounds like there's a really good chance and possibility they're going to see Andretti Autosport join NASCAR, maybe in the future, join and partner up with Spire Motorsports. Then about a few weeks ago, Frankie Mina spoke to the media, and he plans to move up the Xfinity Series or Truck Series in 2024. Frankie Mina is a very, very talented driver, having a great year so far in ARCA. There's been issues with funding, but he says he'll likely have a ride heading into 2024. He says if he's ready, I think he's definitely ready to make the jump up the trucks in Xfinity. He's been pretty impressive this year in ARCA. He'll be trying to finish up the season this year, but Frankie Mina could be likely jumping up in 2024. And then after the Chicago Street Car race that Shane Van Gisbergen ended up winning, Scott McLaughlin says he's also interested in racing in NASCAR. Now, Scott McLaughlin did almost race in NASCAR a couple years ago, as he had a chance to go from maybe V8 Supercars, either NASCAR or IndyCar, and inevitably he went over to IndyCar. But I think a lot of us fans, including myself, would love to see Scott McLaughlin have a chance and opportunity to run in NASCAR. Over throughout the season, there's been a lot of talk about Martin Truex Jr. And Martin Truex Jr. has revealed very recently that he needs to make a decision soon on his future for 2024. Now, this past weekend, he officially revealed that he bought a boat. A lot of people believe that that is a symbolization that Martin Truex Jr. may be buying a boat, basically to go and retire at the end of 2023. With how good Martin Truex Jr. has been in 2023, a lot of people like myself do believe that Martin Truex Jr. could return to JGR headed into 2024. Then after the Mid-Ohio race, or before the Mid-Ohio race happened for the Truck Series race, Mark Andretti revealed that he's not ruling out a full-time ride in NASCAR. Now, he's going to make more starts in the Truck Series in 2023, as revealed to the media. But Mark Andretti is not ruling out a full-time ride. He did race full-time at IndyCar for many, many years. He's made a couple starts in NASCAR, and he's also going to make more starts in NASCAR in 2023. Then over the last 2 weeks, it's been a lot of rumors about the 8 car, and it sounds like that Jeffrey Earnhardt is being considered for the 8 car for 2024. Jeffrey, of course, basically the nephew of Dale Jr. Jeffrey, a lot of people believe, deserves an opportunity, a shot, and it does sound like there's a good chance and possibility that Jeffrey could have an opportunity to run in the 8 car in 2024. We'll wait and see what happens. There's a good chance he could be driving full-time in a better car in the 2024 season. Then a few weeks ago, there was rumors and reports by Jordan Bianchi from The Athletic that Corey LaJoie is finalizing a multi-year contract extension with Spire Motorsports. Interesting thing to know, multiple teams have given Corey LaJoie offers to drive for better equipment. Some believe Trackhouse is one of those teams, but Corey feels like he wants to continue building Spire Motorsports up. Something is building behind the scenes currently at the moment, and Corey LaJoie was going to be committed. While it's not been officially announced at this point, Corey will likely be returning to Spire Motorsports long term. Then a few weeks ago, William Swalch, I think at an ARCA race, revealed that he'll be expanding his racing schedule for 2024. He's going to race in Xfinity Series and Truck Series part-time, and then in 2025, Boone moved up to the Xfinity Series on a full-time basis. William Swalch has been very impressive so far this year in ARCA, and also been very impressive in trucks as well as select starts. He'll get the opportunity in 2025 to make the move up. Then over the last couple weeks, there's been a lot of talks about another college driver that we'll get into a little bit. But first, AJ Allmendinger says he's still undecided on 2024 and says that Matt and Chris, who of course are the tire reps at College Racing, are the ones who will make the decision for AJ Allmendinger. Seems like he's having fun at times, but also at times he's not having fun. So there is a chance and possibility that Allmendinger could leave in the Cup Series and go back to Xfinity in 2024. Speaking of College Racing, a few weeks ago, about a week or two ago, as a matter of fact, it was shockingly announced that Justin Haley will join Rick Ware Racing starting in 2024 in a multi-year deal with RFK. Many people in the industry have believed that Justin Haley was going to return to the 31 car for 2024, but he'll be leaving to go to Rick Ware Racing. The team has shown improvement Rick Ware Racing has been. Some thought it would be a career suicide, but to me, I think this actually could be a really surprisingly good move, and we could see some great things come for Justin Haley heading into 2024 as he'll join Rick Ware Racing on a full-time basis. Unclear what the number is going to be, but he'll be with Rick Ware Racing. So now it brings up the lead potential candidate. Rhino Arsenal is a lead candidate to potentially drive the 31 car for College Racing in 2024. And something that really played a role is Chris Rice, after won the Xfinity Series race at Pocono about a week ago, he actually went up to congratulate him on the victory along with Daniel Hemrick. Now, Daniel Hemrick will get into in just a little bit, but Arsenal could be the lead candidate for the 31 in 2024. Then on the Door Bumper Clear podcast this past weekend, it was revealed that Bubba Wallace, according to Freddy Craft, only has 1 year left on his contract with 2311 Racing, so he could be a free agent at the end of 2024. That's interesting because I thought Bubba Wallace signed a multi-year deal, but it's interesting to note that here's a potential possibility that Bubba Wallace could be a free agent after 2024, but he's been running so good this year in Cup that I think he's going to get a long-term extension. On that same Door Bumper Clear podcast, it was reported that Carson Osborne could go to the Cup Series in 2024. Now, there is a chance he go to the 8 car and the 9 car for Junior Motorsports also in 2024, as we may see Brandon Jones back with Joe Gibbs next year, and also we don't know who's going to be in the 8 car with Josh Berry going with full-time Cup. Carson Osborne, though, has been really, really solid in Xfinity in his select starts, and I think he's a really underrated driver, scoring 3 wins this year. He's really talented, one of the highest prospects in the lower series. He's likely going to be moving up regardless, whether it's Xfinity Series or Cup. He'll be moving up in 2024. Then Zayn Smith actually spoke to Lee Spencer in early July, and he says he's hoping to have his 2024 plan set soon. And a lot of people believe he'll be joining Front Row full-time in the Cup Series out in 34 to 38 car in 2024. Now, he had said he wanted to have his plan set by the end of this month, or basically last month in July. We're past that deadline at this point, but it's likely not too far down the road that we're going to know about Zayn Smith's future. He will likely drive him full-time in the Cup Series or Front Row in 2024. Then at the Pocono weekend, after he won the ARCA race, Jesse revealed that he is not sure what he'll be doing in 2024. But many do believe he'll be moving up the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series in 2024, as Jesse will be 19 years old. He's already made a start in the Truck Series and will be making more starts this year as well in the number 1 truck for Tricon Garage. He'll be moving up in 2024. Then this past week, it was reported by Bob Pockrass on the Wednesday that Julio Castroneves could run the 2024 Daytona 500, as Don Hawk is working to help Julio get the shot and opportunity. Julio Castroneves was supposed to run the 2023 Daytona 500, but things fell through, and he wanted to have a competent car. We know the money team has kind of struggled as well. But there's a good chance and possibility that we're going to see Julio Castroneves drive in the Daytona 500 next year if he gets the right chance and right opportunity. Then after a very successful NASCAR Xfinity Series race for Sage Karam, he's hoping to go to NASCAR full-time in 2024. Now, Sage has made a lot of starts this year in 2023, but it sounds like he could have an opportunity to go full-time in 2024. He's ran a lot of this year, so Sage Karam may get a chance and opportunity to run full-time in NASCAR, and he wants to go full-time in NASCAR. Then, it was most recently confirmed in the last couple days that Shane Van Gisbergen, after his success at the Chicago Street Course, that he will join and leave Supercars and join NASCAR full-time in 2024. Now, many people do believe he has full-time Cup offers. A lot of people brought up COG, a lot of people bring up Trackhouse Racing, but he says he liked to run the Xfinity Series and Truck Series as well with the oval stuff. A lot of people believe that he would struggle on the oval types of tracks, but I don't completely agree. I also don't completely disagree. I don't think it's a bad decision if he runs some Xfinity Series starts, but many want him full-time in the Cup Series right now in a really good car. He could go to 31 car, but also go to third Collie car and drive the 13. That could be a potential possibility. And finally, Kyle Busch actually revealed at the New Hampshire weekend that he almost actually did not race in 2023. as Kyle Busch basically had stated that basically, remember at the time with the contract negotiations, we were not sure if Kyle Busch was going to have it right, and he said, I'm done. So Jim France, I think, helped out a lot of ways, and obviously Kyle Busch joined Briscoes Racing and has had a lot of success at this point, but Kyle Busch revealed he almost didn't have a ride for 2024, 23, I should say, and it's crazy to think that we may have not seen Kyle Busch in NASCAR in 2023. So those are all the major silly season things that happened up to this point. Let's talk about some honorable mentions. John Hunter Nemechek. Right now, John Nemechek, after a great season so far in Xfinity, there's a lot of talk that if Truex Jr. Denny Hamlin leave Gibbs Racing, that John Hunter is the favorite. With 4 wins so far this year, many people are pointing him to be the potential replacement for Truex Jr. Next, let's talk about Matt DiBenedetto. I've seen a lot of people mention Matt DiBenedetto about maybe making some starts in a higher series, and I think of how good he's been in trucks, making the playoffs this year, that could be a possibility, but I also think he loves being at Rackley, so I think there's a good chance he returns to Rackley World Racing in 2024. Next, Daniel Hemric. Back in May, there were rumors and rumors that Daniel Hemric may be out of Kaulig Racing, but I think there's a chance he can come back to the team. He's got some sponsorship funding from South Point and other companies, and I think Kaulig Racing does love working with Daniel Hemric. And finally, Chandler Smith. Some people believe he could be a candidate for the 31 car for 2024, but I think Chandler Smith will return to Kaulig Racing in the Xfinity Series in the number 16 car in 2024 and make select Cup Series starts. I don't think he's ready to jump full-time up to the Cup Series yet, but I think anything is possible and nothing's off the table. Maybe, just maybe, if Allmendinger moves back down to Xfinity, we can see Chandler Smith get promoted. So, that is going to be the official NASCAR Silly Season update. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What are your thoughts on this silly season so far up to this point? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, we're going to have a NASCAR news video discussing news over the last couple of days. Then we'll talk about that next-gen test as well. Then on Thursday, we'll have race pick for the Cup Series race at Michigan, and then, of course, we'll have the race review for the SRX at Berlin. Then, of course, Friday, a NASCAR news video, and we'll get you guys prepared for Michigan, as well as race videos will be coming out for that as well. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.